In Kruger National Park, South Africa, there is a majestic male lion known as the ruler of the savannah. He possesses a brilliant mane and a proud gait, which makes all other animals fear him. In his territory, no predator dares to challenge his supreme authority. Many tourists from all over the world visit Kruger just to see this lion once in their lifetime. The story begins on a hot afternoon when a herd of antelopes was grazing by the lake. The male lion stalked them from afar with a cold gaze. He chose a strong but somewhat slow leader deer as his target due to an old wound. After determining the right opportunity, the lion rushed forward with incredible speed, extending powerful pounces. The deer panicked and ran away, with many of them jumping into the nearby lake to escape. The targeted deer also jumped into the lake, although it was not a good swimmer. The lion, in a frenzy of pursuit, immediately leaped after it, unwilling to miss its delicious prey. But the lake was much deeper than the lion had anticipated. As soon as it touched the water, it realized that it was struggling in a dangerous situation. The cold water cut off the strong current below, causing it to quickly lose strength. The deer, though not a good swimmer, managed to reach shallower water through sheer effort. The lion tried to surface, but the swirling current caused it to sink. The mighty roar of the ruler was now drowned out by the sound of splashing water. In just a few short seconds, the lion was exhausted and gradually lost consciousness. Its mane drooped, and its body began to sink into the lake. At that moment, a ranger named Sipho was on patrol nearby. Driving a special vehicle, his eyes scanned the grassland for any unusual movement. He happened to notice the commotion by the lake and had a premonition that something was wrong. At first, he assumed it was just a lion hunting as usual. But a moment later, he realized that the lion had not surfaced. He immediately stopped the car and rushed to the lakeshore, disregarding any danger to himself. Sipho squinted his eyes to search and spotted a patch of orange-yellow mane beneath the water's surface. Without hesitation, he quickly took off his jacket and jumped in. The deep, muddy, and slippery water made movement extremely difficult. After a few dives, Sipho managed to grab the unconscious lion's front leg. Using all his strength, he pulled the lion into shallower water. As he got closer to the shore, he felt the enormous weight of the animal even more clearly. Its breathing seemed to have stopped, and its eyes were closed. People often say that confronting a lion is extremely dangerous, but now, the scariest thing was that the lion could die at any moment. Sipho laid the lion on its side on the ground, his heart pounding with anxiety. He had learned first aid for wild animals, but this was the first time he had to apply it to such a large lion. Without hesitation, he began compressing the lion's chest to pump air into its lungs. His heart was filled with faint hope. The lion would revive as he had been trained to expect. The compressions were steady and persistent, sweat from his forehead dripping onto the lion's wet mane. A few minutes passed, and the lion showed no signs of movement. Sipho gritted his teeth and counted the compressions according to the correct procedure, not daring to stop. He even tried mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, carefully avoiding the sharp fangs. Suddenly, the lion twitched slightly, its body shaking weakly. Sipho stopped and placed his ear close to its mouth to check for breathing. A faint breath of air confirmed that its heart had begun beating again. Sipho was filled with joy and quickly called for help via radio, while continuing to check on the lion. It was panting heavily but showing signs of life. With this experience, Sipho pulled out a syringe containing a resuscitation medication. He gently injected it into the lion's muscle, being careful not to cause additional pain. Then he stepped back slightly, in case the lion woke up in a panic. Time seemed to stand still as the two lay panting on the shore of the lake, one man and one powerful predator. Sipho placed a hand on his chest, feeling his heart pounding, still in shock. The lion blinked for the first time, looking around with a hazy gaze. The familiar golden eyes were now tired, but still held a hint of life. It struggled to raise its head, but collapsed again from exhaustion. Sipho breathed a sigh of relief, knowing the animal was out of immediate danger, but needed time to recover. He lingered, monitoring the lion's breathing and heart rate, ready to intervene further if necessary. His radio continued receiving messages inquiring about the situation, but Sipho assured them he could handle it. The sun was slowly setting, its golden glow shining on the lion's wet fur. Sipho opened a small bottle of water and sprinkled it on the lion's face to help wake it up. The lion stirred, seemingly in response to the cold. Sipho understood that it needed time to calm down and space to avoid panic. He quietly backed away to his car, turning on the hazard lights to alert other vehicles. From a distance, he watched as the lion began to stir, shaking its head as if trying to shake off a trance. Its large ears perked up, and its eyes focused on the car where Sifo stood. Sifo remained calm, not wanting to scare the animal. Instinctively, the lion roared softly, though the sound was much weaker than usual. Sifo stepped closer, holding out his hand for the lion to sniff. The lion did not attack nor run away, but only growled softly. Sifo smiled, knowing the animal was gradually realizing he was not a threat. After a while, the lion attempted to stand on its shaky legs. It staggered a few steps before collapsing again, still exhausted. Sifo gently supported it but remained cautious, ready to pull away if the lion became agitated. He soothed the animal, speaking slowly as if it could understand him. "Calm down, my friend. I'll help you," he whispered, even though he knew the lion could not understand him. The lion blinked, its breathing gradually returning to normal. Sifo immediately checked its body for injuries and was relieved to find none aside from exhaustion. He then returned to his car and took out a large piece of cloth to lightly cover the lion, keeping it warm through the night. Sifo decided to stay by the lion's side until it regained enough strength to move on its own. As night fell, the moonlight illuminated the two figures, now connected by a thread of kindness. By morning, the lion was feeling better and began to walk slowly around the car. It sniffed the air and raised its head, roaring loudly as if marking the return of a ruler. Sifo smiled, knowing the lion had passed the critical stage. However, he used his walkie-talkie to call the support team to ensure the lion was safely returned to its territory. Before they arrived, the lion had accepted some dried meat that Sifo had prepared. It looked at him with a strange expression, both proud and somewhat grateful. When the support team arrived, they were surprised to see the lion behaving calmly near Sifo. The other staff remained cautious, but Sifo signaled that everything was fine. After a final check, they decided to release the lion back into its familiar area to avoid stress. From that day on, whenever Sifo drove his patrol car, the majestic lion would appear, silently following him, seemingly protecting him in the vast savanna of Kruger National Park, South Africa. Thank you for taking the time to follow this story. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel to support us.